afternoon. I'm Sarah Diamond. I am the Director of Operations and Volunteer Development here at First Presbyterian. And I would like to begin by introducing our speaker for today. We have Sarah Duggan. She's the Community Relations Director at Meadowlark Hills. She is responsible for managing the following departments, including marketing, public relations, and special programs. She also provides administrative and communications support to the Meadowlark Board of Trustees and the Meadowlark Foundation Board of Directors. She assists in guiding the mission and objectives of the organization. In 2009, Sarah graduated from Kansas State University with a Bachelor's of Arts in Public Relations. She worked with McCall Development following graduation, and in 2011, she joined the Meadowlark team. She is proud to work with an organization that encourages the cultivation and fostering of genuine relationships. Sarah is a member of the First United Methodist Church here in Manhattan and is part of the 2019 Leadership Manhattan class through the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. Sarah and her husband Edward have been married for nearly 6 years and are the proud parents of 2 beautiful daughters. So let's welcome Sarah.
Can everybody hear me? Great. Thank you, Sarah. I'm Sarah, and I'm delighted to join you today. Like Sarah mentioned, I'm the Community Relations Director at Meadowlark, and I feel privileged to work for an organization that values connection. Many times during an interview of a potential employee, I'm asked by the interviewee to tell what my favorite thing about working at Meadowlark is. My answer hasn't changed in several years. My favorite thing about Meadowlark is the relationships. It's a wonderful place to be at that encourages cultivation and fostering of genuine connections between people, no matter our affiliation with Meadowlark. I've basically grown up at Meadowlark, from what my mother refers to as a baby adult, that's like 18 to 21, to the woman I am now. When I started, I was a year out of college. I was single and, quite frankly, a little confused. Since then, I've found my purpose. I've met my husband, became a mother of 2 smart, happy girls, bought a house, and really made a life here in Manhattan. Colleagues, residents, family members, and faithful followers of our weekly newsletter, the Meadowlark Messenger, have watched me change and encourage my growth in a healthy and supportive way. And through those experiences, I have found myself a part of a place that I lovingly refer to as my second home. In 2013, I married a wonderful man whose name is Edward. We met through mutual friends here in Manhattan a couple of years after I was done with college and after I had started working at Meadowlark. He was stationed at Fort Riley as a logistics officer and had grown up and gone to college in New York City, where his family still lives today. I met him briefly before he left on his deployment, and I remember thinking what a neat person he was, but nothing blossomed between us just yet. No one made a move, and off he went on his deployment. The timing wasn't right. Edward and I began dating immediately after he returned, after literal 12 months of radio silence. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect. You see, Edward had always wanted to be a soldier. And he's told me many times over the past few years that he never intended to get married or have a family. He always just wanted to serve as a soldier and maybe as a New York City police officer someday, until he met me. When we started dating, we were both still recovering from each of our failed long-term relationships, and I think it's safe to say that neither of us planned for love to be in our immediate future. But what can I say? The timing was right. Our relationship moved at a pace that still leaves me breathless. We were engaged 9 months after we started dating. We were married 7 months after that, and in October 2013, we received the most amazing news. Edward and I were expecting our first baby. And although it was quick, the timing was perfect. Today, as I share my stories with you, I hope you hear the major themes in my spirituality, which is really the piece that grounds me in this crazy adventure of life. God is everywhere, love each other, and respect his timing. Each of these things support what I believe is the most essential aspect to our existence in this world: relationships. Without relationships, the true, real, genuine relationships, what could possibly be the point? My faith roots run deep. I was baptized as an infant in the church that my parents were married in, which was First United Methodist Church in Ottawa, Kansas. There, I attended Sunday school, I was very active in the youth group, and I sang in the choir. There's nothing extraordinary to the story about how I came to know God. I've heard others talk about when they were saved and how amazing and magical that experience was for them, but that's not how it happened for me. Although there have been points in my life when I've struggled, times that I have questioned God, his intent, or even his existence, I have always felt his presence somewhere in my heart. For as long as I can remember, my faith has been woven into my experiences, even if it was faint. I had a youth leader who would refer to those special moments where you see God right in front of you as God moments. And we've all had those. To others, our God moments may seem small or insignificant, but each God moment I tell you about today has made an impact on who stands before you and who I will be in the future. Selecting someone to perform our marriage ceremony was slightly complicated for Edward and me. He grew up Catholic, and early on in our relationship, I broached the subject of religion, spirituality, and how we might raise a family should we end up married. It was around this time that I really began to give consistent credit to my church and faith as a large part of who I was becoming, and I wanted to establish that foundation for my children. We agreed that if we were to get married, then we would select a church we were both comfortable joining. In the meantime, Edward proposed, and we began the process of choosing an officiant. Having no home church in Manhattan yet, but the desire to get married here, we were in a little bit of a conundrum. Of course, we could have gone to any wonderful church in Manhattan to get married, but we really wanted to have that personal connection with the person who married us. My grandmother, whose relationship with God is what I strive to have for myself, had a preacher in my hometown who was a close friend of the family, Pastor Scott. He'd known me my whole life, although he was never the pastor at any of my churches. He was familiar with my family, and as a bonus, he was from New York State. I introduced him to Edward, and they immediately hit it off. It was decided. Pastor Scott would marry us at the Hilton Garden Inn in Manhattan, Kansas. Yeah, you heard me. Your Lenten luncheon speaker for today did not get married inside of a church. My grandmothers were a little annoyed. I mean, hadn't they raised me right? Hadn't they shown me the way through God? Why wouldn't I want God at my wedding? And you've probably guessed what I'm going to say to you. God is everywhere, which is exactly what I told my family. My logical side of coordinating many out-of-town guests from New York City and Ottawa, Kansas, was complemented by my belief that God stays with me no matter where I am. If I desired his presence at my wedding, I was confident he would be there. And there he was, all around us as we pledged to spend our lives supporting one another. Neither of us had anticipated we would experience such a beautiful opportunity to share our lives with another person who loved us so completely. The timing was perfect because it was his, and only he can be so flawless. See, I was supposed to be married 4 years before to someone else. I had spent most of college in a relationship with a guy who I thought loved me. I ignored every sign that indicated this wasn't my path, and he wasn't my person. I pushed hard against God's voice, urging me in so many ways not to choose him. I pushed right up until 2 weeks before the wedding day, and something so glaring, so obvious stopped me in my tracks. He had been unfaithful for a while, and it all came to light, and I was at a crossroads. On one hand, we're supposed to forgive, and on the other, is this how I want to spend forever? Something that is likely doomed before I even utter the words of commitment. It was like a jolt of energy rushed through me. I can still remember how I felt, like I was woken up from a deep sleep, riddled with denial. God was showing me, in time of course, I could forgive this person for hurting me, but I did not have to live with pain by staying in the wrong relationship. So I called it. I decided on June 29th, 2009, 2 weeks before my intended wedding day, that I was going to listen to God, respect His timing, and choose to love me. And on June 29th, 2013, in His timing, I married the love of my life in a hotel ballroom, surrounded by my family, friends, and of course, the Holy Spirit. God was there, the timing was perfect, and we loved each other. I mentioned earlier that the pace of life with Edward was rapid, and I can tell you that in almost 6 years, that hasn't changed one bit. On Wednesday, July 9th, 2014, at 9:24 in the evening, we welcomed our first baby into the world, a beautiful daughter we named Murphy Rose. She stole our hearts the moment she arrived, and since that day has been teaching us more than we could ever teach her. Murphy was baptized at about 6 months old on my parents' 30th wedding anniversary in my home church in Ottawa. We chose to have her welcomed into the family of God in Ottawa's First United Methodist Church because at the time, Edward and I intended to move our family there. Even with welcoming an infant into our house, we had stayed in our little apartment with the understanding that our first home would be in Ottawa, near my family and lifelong friends. Edward had spent hours applying for jobs in the area we thought we wished to relocate, and it was proving to be more difficult than we expected. Nothing was panning out. For a few months, we went along this road of applying and interviewing and finding that the jobs and the pay and the opportunities, they just weren't the right fit. And one day in early February, I looked at Edward in our little apartment, and I said, "Someone bigger than you and me is trying to tell us something. I can just feel it." I shared with him that I felt like we were pushing forward on a path that wasn't meant for us, and he agreed. We decided that day to call off that search and start a new one for a home in Manhattan, Kansas. And wouldn't you know that weekend, we put an offer in on a house? That weekend. It was so easy. It felt so right. We listened to him, and guess what? His timing was perfect. We have been in our house for 4 years this month. I can't ever imagine leaving. Murphy learned to walk in our house. Edward built the fence. He laid new floors. He painted the walls, planted grass, nurtured the trees. And as I read through this, I realized it sounds like I don't do anything. But I do. There's so much love in our home, including God's love. We joined First United Methodist Church in Manhattan when I was pregnant with our second daughter. Edward and I decided it was time to invest in Murphy and our new baby's spiritual future by introducing them to our beliefs as a foundation for growth. Ailish Winnett was born on April 7th, 2017, 9 days before Easter. Now, side story here, because you're wondering, Ailish, that's a weird name. Edward's family is of Irish descent. His grandma came over to Ireland when she was about 18 and made her home in Brooklyn, where she raised her family. And Edward's very passionate about honoring his heritage. And when we came across the Irish name Ailish when I was expecting, we fell in love. And Ailish means God is my oath. To this point in my life, I can confidently say that parenting has been one of my biggest personal tests of faith. Maybe the world has always been scary, but since becoming a mother, my questioning has increased exponentially, which isn't a surprise considering the often terrible news we see daily from the media. everything is a risk, which means everything requires faith to follow through. Letting the kids play outside, taking a ride in the car, sending them to school. Murphy starts kindergarten this fall. We actually have kindergarten roundup tomorrow. And in a perfect world, my emotions would only be a result of the fact she is growing up, getting bigger, and she needs me just a little less every day. But I'm struggling with the fact that I'm going to tell her that this big new school is safe when I can't guarantee that safety. And the only way I'm going to be able to walk out of that classroom on that first day of her kindergarten year is to repeat to myself, God is everywhere. God is everywhere. God is everywhere. My Ailish was baptized at our now home church here in Manhattan. When we were getting ready for the service, Murphy asked me, what does baptized mean? Well, I thought, what am I going to say? I've never had to explain this to a child. And then in less than 30 seconds, I was running through a deep internal look at my belief system, saying, what does baptized mean? And I settled on the following. We are going to promise to teach Ailish about God and take her to church so she can learn about Him from other people. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I kind of nailed it for the 4-year-old explanation. Since Ailish's baptism, Murphy looks forward to every baptism she sees. The church we go to here in town has a wonderful tradition of singing Jesus Loves Me to children right after they're baptized, so that these are the first words they hear after becoming part of the church. And every time I have witnessed the congregation singing the simple song to a new baby, I have been deeply moved. God is everywhere. Traditions are important to me. I love the way they make me feel, and I enjoy the anticipation that builds in carrying out a tradition again and again. Something I look forward to every year, which I'm guessing some of you do as well, is the candlelit singing of Silent Night on Christmas Eve. I live for this moment. I always loved this tradition as a child, and it's probably because I got to hold a candle, and you don't play with fire at home. But I even love it as an adult, and I can remember attending one particular Christmas Eve service with my family, including my grandma Winnie. And this was after her diagnosis and several treatments for lung cancer. Our time with her was borrowed from the day we found out. I looked over at her during the song, her face lit by the candle's flame, and quiet tears falling down her cheeks. She was completely embracing the moment with God. And ever since, when the time comes to light the candles in the church sanctuary and sing that song, I think of her. A recurring God moment I can look forward to each year. Grandma passed away in March 2015, the day after her birthday. There were 4 of us in the room, and she is to date the only person whose side I've been by when they've gone on to meet the Lord. My father, my mother, me, and sweet baby Murphy Rose were there when she left us. I miss her every day and believe she's my guardian angel. I know some of us might consider, what would Jesus do when reacting to a situation? But for me, I usually think, what would Grandma Winnie do? She would do whatever leads to loving each other. In Matthew chapter 22, verses 36 through 39, a Pharisee asked Jesus, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment of the law?" And Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." My grandma is someone who did this. She found the good and purpose in everyone. She shared kindness, spoke no ill of anyone, even those who wronged her. She showed me ways that we can love each other. I have worked at Metal Art for 8 years. And looking around the room, I know many of you are familiar with Metal Art, but if you're not, we're a local, not-for-profit retirement community that was started in the mid-70s. by 6 local churches and several motivated Manhattan citizens. The churches include First Baptist, First Christian, First Lutheran, Blue Valley Memorial United Methodist, Trinity Presbyterian, and First Presbyterian. This group of community members noticed that the city's retired population was growing smaller and smaller due to a lack of living options. To help us keep Manhattan thriving and to give older adults more choice in the matter of where they live during their retirement, these citizens and churches created Meadowlark. Meadowlark is built on the concepts of continuing care, respect, and compassion. Meadowlark opened in 1980, and since then the organization has undergone great transformations to encompass and honor choice. Meadowlark's mission is to be each resident's home. To create this environment, staff, residents, and board members work together to enhance quality of life by nurturing individuality, independence, values, and community. When I examine this mission through the lens of my faith, I arrive back at Matthew chapter 22, verse 39. Love your neighbor as yourself. Treat others the way you would want to be treated, or the way you would want your grandmother, mother, father, friend treated, cared for, and served. Creating home within a facility setting, especially under strict government regulations, is not an easy thing, but it is a path Meadowlark has been on for many years. The organization adopted the household model in 2000. This model is about removing any elements that make a resident's home feel like part of a hospital, including rigid schedules, one-size-fits-all meals, clinical noises, and obtrusive medical equipment. After the removal of the hospital environment, Meadowlark welcomed a renewed emphasis on residents first. This meant front porches for each of our household entrances, open kitchen and living areas for entertaining, resident direction behind decisions, and the understanding that social interaction is a choice. With the addition of warmth and color to our spaces, resident privacy was also prioritized. Over the years, there have been changes and enhancements to the Meadowlark campus, and constant attention paid to maintaining the sanctity of those households. And we know that the population in need of services will continue to grow, and the types of care models available will need to adjust to the wants, needs, and desires of the aging generations. Meadowlark remains on the forefront of exploring better ways to care for older adults. We can love each other by recognizing all of us deserve to have our dignity preserved and our choices honored. Working at Meadowlark has taught me a lot about relationships and caused me to examine the way I interact with others. Over and over, I'm asked, what is so great about working at Meadowlark? Despite working for a valuable mission, it's the people. It's the fact that I come to work every day in someone's home, and the culture, the very essence of the organization, encourages me to create genuine, lasting, meaningful relationships. And anyone else with the people I serve, the people I serve alongside, and anyone else that comes along in the process. Building relationships with those around us creates a place where I want to be and my family wants to come along. Murphy and Ailish are growing up with an entire community in their corner, and they have no idea how important and wonderful that is yet. I never set out to work at a retirement community, and when I did, I never expected it to be a vibrant and fulfilling experience that has kept me tethered to the Manhattan community. I told you leaving Manhattan wasn't working for us and staying here came easy, but what I haven't told you is a big part of that easy is Meadowlark. How could I ever leave a place that I've come to know as my second home? I want to leave you with a story that makes me chuckle every time I think about it. I have a younger brother and sister who are twins. They were born when I was 17, a month before my senior prom, and just before I left for college. One day when they were about 5, we were visiting on the phone, and it was a Sunday, and they had been to church and Sunday school earlier that morning. I spoke with my sister And she said, "Sarah, did you know heaven is a real place?" And I responded, "Yes, I believe it is." And Emma said, "But did you know the streets are made of gold?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I've read that a time or two, and I think it sounds very pretty." And at this point, I'm pretty proud of her ability to retain information, in a classroom type setting. She's going places. And then she asked me, "Did you know that all you have to do to get to heaven is ask for God's forgiveness?" Now I'm downright impressed. I said, "Yeah, that's true. It seems like you learned a lot at church today." So now it's time to talk to my brother, Parker, 5-year-old Parker. He gets on the phone and I ask him what he's been doing. And he said, "Dad, let me scoop the poop out of the chicken coop." And just like that, we went from paradise to poop. Life can sometimes feel that way. Things are going great and then bam, something happens and it gets you down. But since God is everywhere and His timing is perfect, we have the strength to love each other even through the poopiest of times. God challenges me every day in my work and at home, and for that I'm grateful. I'm human like everyone else in this room, and each year I appreciate the opportunities that Lent offers me to reflect on my choices, my path, and my future. I appreciate you listening today. Thank you.
Thank you.